Alright gang, before we get into the recipe, we're going to do a little bit of an ingredient checklist. Of course, you're going to need that smoked bison brisket. You're also going to need half a block of cream cheese, depending on how many poppers you're doing, bacon, of course, jalapeños, and your choice of seasoning. How you pit your jalapeno is ultimately up to you. For presentation purposes for game day, I prefer to leave the stem on, but you totally don't have to. The jalapeno internal stem and seeds do hold majority of the heat, so do remove the seeds. Unless you love an extra spicy bite, I personally don't mind the heat, but my family does not like spicy food. So if you can't handle heat, make sure you remove all the seeds. You will be surprised what kind of damage one seed can do. I also recommend adding the cream cheese before the brisket because cream cheese will expand during the cooking process. It won't expand too much, but the brisket kind of holds it in place so it doesn't overexpand. With that being said, the cream cheese also helps keep that brisket moist, as well as the bacon will help keep that brisket from over drying. Now let's talk about the bacon. I prefer to use regular bacon. A lot of people use thick cut bacon. Just keep in mind when you're using a thicker cut, it is going to take longer to render down and get crispy. Also, a lot of people use toothpicks to keep the bacon in place. That definitely works 9 out of 10 times, but I have seen bacon unravel during the cooking process if you don't insert those toothpicks correctly. So here's a little trick I learned along the way. Have you ever noticed grocery stores have bacon wrap poppers without toothpicks? Well, if you refrigerate your poppers for at least 1 hour before smoking, it's going to keep that bacon in place. So no toothpicks required. Now when it comes to seasoning, you can use absolutely any seasoning you want. I'm just going to keep it simple and keep it Texas with just salt and pepper. Just make sure you cover the entire popper so it is full of flavor and it builds a pretty bark during the cooking process. Now let's talk about the fuel we're going to use for today's cook. I filled my firebox with half a chimney of charcoal briquettes. For the wood flavor, I recommend using a lighter wood like cherry or apple. I'm going to use cherry because the brisket's already smoked. The bacon is already smoked. All we're really worrying about is impacting the cream cheese and the jalapeno. Not saying you can't use a harder wood, but you don't want to over smoke these poppers because the end result is going to be a bitter bite. So I'm going to smoke these at 275 degrees for about an hour. That will give the bacon and the jalapeno enough time to render down. Again, a reminder, I'm using regular cut bacon. If you use a thicker cut, it is going to take longer to cook. But this is how my popper is looking at 1 hour in. I usually let them go for a full 90 minutes, but the bark is formed. The jalapeno, I can tell, is rendered. So now it's time to sauce. Saucing is completely optional, but it does enhance the flavor of your bison bullet. Let's talk about why you should wait for the last 15 to 30 minutes to sauce your bison bullets, or any poppers in fact. Whether you're using homemade barbecue sauce or store-bought, it's going to contain a lot of sugar. Sugar will absolutely over smoke and over caramelize, resulting in a nasty bitter bite. We don't want that. We just want that perfect caramelization. So whether you're smoking poppers, chicken, or even ribs, don't pass 30 minutes for the final glaze. And the final step is to let them rest for about 10 minutes before slicing. If you do take a bite right off the smoker, that cream cheese is going to be super hot, so don't burn your tongue. Now I am going to slice into a popper so you can see how juicy the brisket is, but that's pretty much it guys. That wraps up the recipe. The full details will be down below in the description, but just check out how juicy that brisket is. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe and save this recipe. Till next time guys, enjoy. Bye.